Hey guys, what's up? Alec back with another stock market investing video. And today we're going to talk about a few important things. In the beginning of this video, we're going to do a quick stimulus update. So if you're wondering if it's $600 or $2,000 stimulus and when we're going to be getting it, just watch the first part of this video, like the first 2 minutes. And then after that, the main part of the video is going to be 10 different ETF stocks and price alerts and price points to get in at these stocks at too. In my opinion, ETF stocks are an important part of any profile, and I have an entire video about them on my training course program. So if you're interested in that, DM me on Instagram. But let's get right into the stimulus news. So if you guys didn't hear, there has been a roadblock for the $2,000. So as of right now, people are getting their $600 ASAP. And people have already gotten their $600. It just depends on the bank at this point. Congress already set the checks out, and they're using the same system as the last stimulus check. So if you did end up getting the last stimulus check, then you'll be getting the $600 right away. Some people are saying they already got them, and you should be getting them today, tomorrow, New Year's Eve. They probably won't go out on New Year's Day on Friday, but on Monday should probably be the latest that most people are going to be getting them Monday. There is a chance that the $2,000 still can happen, but you're not going to have to wait for any more debating. What they're going to do is send the $600 out ASAP, so everybody's getting that right away. And then if they agree on the $2,000 down the road, we'll be getting a $1,400, which is the difference at a later date if it does pass. Now that's the stimulus news. If you guys didn't hear, a newly elected congressman of 41 years old just passed away from COVID as well. So it's super sad that it was announced that COVID positive on the 18th, and then he actually died yesterday. But enough with the stimulus talk and the COVID. Let's talk about stock market. I hope you guys had a really good Christmas, by the way. I actually just got back yesterday from California. I went to Florida to actually visit my mom's side of the family for the holiday. And it was fun, but everyone should be back to reality right now. Now what we have to talk about is stock market, stock market, stock market. And make sure with those stimulus checks that you guys are going to be getting that you're not spending them on something dumb and going out to dinners, going to the bar, spending on alcohol or PS5 games or Xbox games or anything like that. Make sure that you are going to be investing into yourself, number one, because the best thing you can do when you're young is learn new information. And then the stock market, of course, as well. You can even put $50 a week into the stock market. You don't have to put your whole $600 in at once. Just do $50 a week, but don't spend the $600, because I know some people, if they have $600 sitting in the account, they will end up spending it. So if you are one of those people that spends the money if it's in the account, make sure you just transfer it over to your brokerage. If you have Robinhood, just transfer it over to Robinhood as soon as you get it, and then deploy about $50 a week into the market. And you're going to be thanking yourself down the road when you have actually a chunk of change and a little bit of a nest egg to fall back on. It's like an emergency situation. If you ever need that money, you know it's there. And as you guys can see, we're up 39%, $5,500 in the month, $1,600 in the week. We're only up $167. Keep in mind, we were up at one point almost $500, but we have been having some red days. As you can see, we're down $51 today. But as long as you're up positive in the month is really what you want to look at. Stage it by month. A week or 3 months is kind of too long to look at. I like to look at the month. And if you're up 9%, hey, if you're even up 3% in the month, that's still good, because if you do that for the entire year, that's almost a 35% to 40% gain, depending on how well you do. A 30 to 45% gain over the course of an entire year is definitely what you guys should be aiming for. If you go too much, if you're aiming for like a 300% gain over the course of a year, which is about 30% per month, that's honestly a little bit too much of an aggressive goal, because I've seen people who have done that for 1 to 2 months, but what do you think happens the third and the fourth month? They end up losing money because it's a super risky way to invest, and they start to get discouraged, almost like going to the casino or sports gambling. It's very risky when you gamble like that with your money. So with this kind of strategy, a long-term investor, long-term approach, value investor and growth investor, you actually have an opportunity to make long-term growth and long-term gains, even if it is a little bit slower at 3 to 5% a month. In the long term, it's going to be worth it way more because the stock market favors long-term investors. As we know, over the long term, what do we know about the stock market? Over a long period of time, the stock market is known to go up, up, up. And over a short period of time, it's known to be very inconsistent and unpredictable. So it's hard to predict the market short term, and it's always a lot easier to give yourself a long-term investor. So you're already putting yourself at an advantage that other people aren't looking at if you are looking long-term because of that reason. So with that being said, if you are investing into ETFs, which I always recommend at least 20% of your profile to be in ETFs, and if you're even older and closer to retirement, I would recommend even 60% of your profile in ETFs. So you should be getting familiar with them now. If you have a Roth IRA, ETFs are my favorite thing to put in. So this is going to be the first one that we're talking about is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. And this is the biggest one if you want to get into the S&P 500. It only is $342, and of course you can buy a fractional share too. If you look at the 5-year graph, it's consistently going up, and it's known to consistently go up. It has a market cap of 176 billion, which is absolutely enormous. The PE ratio is 33, which I think it's a little bit higher than it usually is for the Vanguard, ticker symbol VOO, by the way. And at one point, you can even get this stock this year for only $210. Now, for me, I would want to be buying the stock right at about $300. And I think it's possible for the stock to get down to $300 again. The Vanguard S&P 500, one of my favorite ones on this list. But honestly, I invest in all of these stocks personally, these ETFs personally, so I absolutely love all these. Next is ticker symbol VOOG, and it's the Vanguard S&P 500 Growth ETF. So this one actually focuses a little bit more around the growth stocks in the market. Now, if you don't know how ETFs work, we go over that in my program. So think of an ETF kind of like a bucket, and there's 500 different stocks in that one bucket, and that makes up the entire ETF. So when you invest into one ETF, you actually are buying into 500 of the top growth stocks in the entire world. So that's why these stocks are so important to invest in. Now, they're more on the safe side, like they usually go up. But if you can see, if you usually go like a year span, they only go up like 20, 10%, even 5% in 1 year. So you can't rely if you have big goals and big aspirations. This should be less of your profile, maybe even like 10%, but there's still always a place for ETFs. The third one's going to be VTI, Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. And as you can see in the last week, it's barely up. In the last 1 month, it's up 3.2%. In the last 3 months, it's up 14% and 18% in the year and 85% in the last 5 years. So it's not going to be experiencing crazy growth or anything like that. I would want to see this stock right around $160 for me to personally be buying this and for me to feel like I'm getting a great deal on my money. Also, if you look at the market cap, you typically want to look at a bigger market cap when going into an ETF. So if you see a market cap of 200 billion, that's one of the biggest ETFs in all the stock market. So it's definitely one you should have your eyes on because you know it is going to be a safe one too. So the fourth one is ticker symbol BND, Vanguard Total Bond Market ETF, $67 billion market cap. This one I don't really like as much as the other ones because it's a bond market ETF and it's not actually around stocks. Stocks and bonds are different, and if you don't know the difference between the two, I'll probably make a video in the future about it, but in your own time, you can definitely look it up. Bonds are known to be pretty safe, but I don't always recommend buying into them. So if you are going to be buying into this ETF, just make sure you do your research on what a bond is before you do that. The fifth one is going to be a Vanguard Healthcare ETF. And this one actually has a market cap of 13 billion. And this is a great one because of Joe Biden as president. Healthcare is going to skyrocket. And if you don't want to individually pick all your different healthcare stocks and you don't know really much about healthcare stocks, what you can do instead is just buy a healthcare ETF. And it's basically like buying 100 of the best healthcare stocks on the stock market today. So that's why I always recommend certain sectors if you like a solar energy. Now, that being said, ETFs are very known for diversification and diversifying your profile. So if you just have 10 different ETFs, they can cover every realm and every sector of the stock market. For example, we already touched on S&P, which is going to be the popular stocks. We touched on healthcare, and now we're going to be touching on international, like Chinese stocks and other international top stocks too. And this is going to be with the VYMI, the International High Dividend. Also, a lot of the stocks actually produce dividends too. Like this one has a 3% dividend per year, which is absolutely phenomenal. And it has a market cap of 1.7 billion, which is big for an international ETF. And it also has a PE ratio of 17, implying that's a pretty good deal right now. Now, as you can see, this is a newer ETF. So what I always like to look at also is time, like how long have they been doing this? And I typically like the longer ETFs, which I like to look at, but Vanguard is known to have good ETFs. So I definitely support this ETF. And I would probably want to be buying right around 53, even $50 a share on this one. Now, if you have a super long-term mindset on these, like 5, 10 years, or even 20 years, it doesn't really matter what price point you buy them at. So the price points are kind of pointless. But if you're only going to be holding for like 5, 3, 2 years, you definitely want to make sure you are getting in a good price point. And also, by the way, I would probably only recommend any of these ETFs if you plan on holding them for 5 years or more. I would say 3 years is the absolute minimum. But for them to actually do their thing and give you that 8-10% a year, that's what I would recommend. Now, there's also a Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF, which a lot of dividend investors, I know there's all you guys out there, so shout out to you guys. You definitely want to have this one on your list because it gives you a dividend yield of 3.21 and has a PE ratio of only 25 with a market cap of 31 billion. So it's an absolutely huge ETF. And there's also going to be one more dividend ETF on this list, which is coming up now. And you guys probably hear me talking about this one. So it's an S&P 500 mixed with a high dividend yield. We're up 23% on this one already, and I have a lot more in my other account. In my Roth IRA, I have over $1,000, and we're up about 30% on that one. Now, their dividend yield is a 5%, which is a great, great dividend and one of my favorite dividend stocks on the market. With a PE ratio of only 34, a market cap of 2.3, it's still a big stock, but to today's standards, it's not as big as it could be. As you can see, I like this one a lot because of the price point. If you looked at all the other 5-year charts, all these other ETFs are at an all-time high, which this stock has not covered 100% from the Rona. Now, some of these stocks do take a cut, like a percentage of your gains and of your money, but it's such a small amount. It's like a 0.001%, which if you have $10,000 into this one stock, for example, would only be like $1, right? So it's not even a big thing to worry about, or maybe $10, which is not a huge thing to worry about either. But it's always something to consider, and that's why these ETFs are very popular, because the other indexes, for example, or if you heard of like mutual funds or index funds, ETFs, they're all pretty much the same thing, but they actually, some of them take different percentages out. For example, like a mutual fund can take like 3% instead of 0.001%, which if you have $10,000 in can be a larger amount. And that's just an example, they're not exact numbers. So if you can buy in at this one at like 29 or 28, I would definitely buy at that opportunity and hold it for 5-10 years down the road too. Now, the next one on the list, which is a very good one, is going to be ticker symbol DIA. We already talked about the S&P 500. This one actually mimics the Dow Jones Industrial. So if you want both of those, remember ticker symbol DIA and ticker symbol VOO. The market cap is 24 billion with a PE ratio of 26 and a dividend yield of 1.8. So this is a really great one. In the last year, they're up 6% because they had that big dive from when everything shut down and the stock market went to a free for all. But they actually are up about 74% in the last 5 years, which is really great signs of growth. And I would want to be buying this one under 300, maybe 290 if I can get in at that point. But remember, if you have a long-term mindset, it doesn't really matter what you buy these stocks at. Now on the next one, I actually want to give a shout out to ARK Innovations ETF. This is just the ARKK ticker symbol, but there's a few different ticker symbols that they have as well, like ARK, and then there's a lot of other ones too. So if you guys want to look into them, they're a super innovative company with Kathy Woods at the leadership point of it, and they're up 500% in the last 5 years. So this is kind of like a Tesla. You can kind of think of it as like a Tesla ETF, and they're even up 149% in the last 1 year. Now, this one might be the one that where price point is important to buy at, and I would definitely want to be buying at about $90 to $80 on this ETF. There's no guarantee it will get that low because they're a super innovative ETF, but that's the price point they were at for a long time, was like $50 to $40. They traded for 2 years. So they just recently have seen explosive growth. So I would probably wait for that to cool off and get in right around $80 or $90 for long term. Their PE ratio is negative, and their market cap is $18 billion, by the way, with almost a non-existent dividend yield. Now, if you have all these ETFs, you will be super diversified. So at the next one, I want to give a shout out to REIT funds, ETFs, and that's ticker symbol VNQ. There's a few different ones, but this is a Vanguard one. It's a big one too. It has a market cap of 30 billion for a REIT, a REIT fund. I think it's a super great option if you are interested in this kind of thing, and that gives you a dividend yield of nearly 4%. The PE ratio is saying it's a little bit overvalued right now. I mean, I would probably want to be buying right around $70 or $60. And I'm not a huge fan of REITs personally. I think they're a little bit more risky, and other ETFs and stocks can offer more potential gain and safer gains as well. And let's put one risky one on the risk. It's going to be ticker symbol DIV, Global X Super Dividends US ETF Fund. And as you can see, it's at a really good price point. It was trading at $25 for a long time, so I think it can easily get back there. The market cap's the smallest on the list at only 500 million, which is still a pretty good size, especially considering they were at 25 for a long time, which means that their market cap was almost $1 billion at one point, and their PE ratio is only 27. Now, they have a dividend yield of 8%, which will compare really well with this huge crash that they've had recently, because with that 8% dividend, even if we see slow growth back to the 25 on their share price, that's 30% or more growth to be had. And even if you get 3%, 5% a year, plus that 8% dividend will be sitting nicely, and you'll be getting about 18% per year, 15% per year, even at just a few extra percents. So that is a big dividend that compare nicely with the stock growth that's upcoming. And the last one that we're going to be talking about today is ticker symbol VT, and it's Vanguard Total World Stock ETF. So we talked about international, we talked about US, but this is actually total world. So it's everything combined into one, and it gives you that diversification if you are looking for different regions and different companies in your stock portfolio. So a PE ratio of 34, dividend yield of 1.5 nearly, and a market cap of 16 billion. It sits pretty nice. So these are the top 10 in my opinion. I invest in them personally with about 10 other ETFs that maybe I'll release in a different video. But all you really need is 7 or 8 or 10 different ETFs to be totally diversified in the entire stock market into every sector too. So guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. Make sure you do drop a thumbs up on the video. It does go a long way, and I really appreciate it. It lets YouTube know that you should see these videos and that other people should be shared with these videos too. This video I did spend a lot of time on. I try to give you a full comprehensive cover between the stimulus, everything going on in the market right now, some long-term growth information, and a lot of hidden gems throughout this whole video. So there was a lot to learn. It was super value packed. So if you thought the same thing, make sure you leave a thumbs up if I did earn it on the video. And I'm giving $5 out to the first 5 people who comment their thoughts on long-term investing in ETFs and if they like the video. And also just send me a screenshot of the comment on Instagram, and I'll send you $5 too. So we've been doing this giveaway. I think we've given away almost $150 right now. So if you haven't gotten it yet, and you are listening this far into the video, I do appreciate you. Share this video with a friend. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember, don't time the market, buy the market. Peace.